exits are posted, as you can see. Washrooms are down the stairs. We're a group of citizens who came together and concluded that with the minor changes that are occurring in our community, voters needed an opportunity to hear their ward candidates, both incumbents and challengers. And this is what we've invited you to. As a group, we do not endorse anyone. Our role is strictly one of providing an opportunity to hear all views, and so that you can make an informed decision about who would best represent your interests at council. Each candidate has had the rules of procedure given to them, and they're also posted at the door. The order of speaking has been drawn by lots, and the closing remarks will be in reverse. So, as you can see, Leanne chose first, Nons down to David. Written questions will be taken from the floor and vetted by our panel. If you want to ask a question, raise your hand. A pen and paper will be provided to you. Raise your hand again, and it will be collected and taken to our panel. The purpose of our panel is not to censor anyone, but strictly to make sure that the same question doesn't get asked a dozen times. So we'll group the questions to the same subject. That is our aim. We also ask that you hold your applause until the completion of the closing remarks. Our moderator tonight is Debbie Zimmerman. Debbie has had a long career in local politics. She's been a town councilor, a regional councilor, a regional chair, and is currently CEO of the Ontario Grape Growers. And just as an added note, and here we can apply, Debbie has also just recently been awarded for the Women in Business Lifetime Achievement Award for her contribution to the betterment of Niagara. So, although all her efforts are all over the region and Niagara, really, she's a Grimsby girl, and that's how we're going to treat her. Grimsby girl. Anyway, on that note, I turn it over to our moderator, and here we go.
Thank you very much, Phil. It's absolutely wonderful to be here this evening, and this is a bit of deja vu for me, because this used to be my ward, so I'm going to say that, many years ago. And lots of you in the room, of course, I remember so many. But also, 4 years ago, we did this. And this is important. This is the closest government to the people. You can make the most impact as an individual. You don't come with a party card in your backyard or a back pocket, at least you shouldn't. You come as an individual to do the best for your community. And it is an absolutely wonderful position. You get to go for 4 years. And you get to decide, which is even better, who's going to represent you. So just a couple of things that Phil has already mentioned, and I'm just going to go through them one more time. He wrote in my paper, so. Sorry, So I think everybody knows that we're going to start out with a 2-minute opening for each one of the individuals. Part of our rules tonight, obviously, is to be respectful of each other. And quite frankly, if you're not going to take another question, so you're out of the team, or off the team, as they say. So each candidate's going to start with a 2-minute opening, and then I'm going to ask that in advance there's some questions that I'll be given to each of you, and then there's a really quick round, a yes and no answers, and you get about 15 seconds to explain why you agree or disagree. And then there's going to be questions from the floor, as everybody said, and then we're going to allow for some closing remarks, which is about 2 minutes. So, Leanne, you're up to go. Would you like to get started? Sure. Thank you. That'll take a little more time.
So, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight, and thank you to the organizers for putting on this meeting. This election is very important, and we need to reset the discourse and move forward together. I'd like to tell you little bit about some of my highlights in my first term as councillor. First of all, I was appointed council representative to the new Grimsby Energy Board and worked with a group of very talented people to unravel the finances and mess involving the biodigester, which is now a fully tax-paying commercial business in Grimsby. And it also meets all the Ministry of Environment requirements, which it didn't before. Second, the most important thing is our tree canopy. Trees are one of the things that makes Grimsby so environmentally and aesthetically appealing. And that is why I introduced the Carolinian Tree Initiative. I thought we should capitalize on our natural environment and increase our tree canopy with the native species that will thrive in this area. If I'm re-elected, I will introduce a motion to take an accounting of the amazing old growth trees in Grimsby in order to treat them as town assets and ensure they are protected. You may recall when duck hunting suddenly appeared on our lake. The new bylaw allowed duck hunting close to some schools and parks, which threatened the safety of our residents. This is why I called for an emergency moratorium and a return to the former hunting bylaw so that we could do a proper consultation with all the residents in Grimsby. I recognize the needs above and below the escarpment are very different. Third, a town must be prosperous to sustain itself and therefore must grow in order to flourish. To do so, we must take a thoughtful, evidence-based approach to development to protect what residents value in our town. I see my responsibility as a councillor to be your representative. And over the past 4 years, I've done my best to be your voice at council. I hope I have served you well, and you will once again trust me with your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Leanne. I'm going to pass this over to Don Howe.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors, for those who don't know, I'm Don Howe, and I'm asking for your vote to elect me as one of the two councilors for this ward. In return for your vote, here's what you will get from me. You will get the experience of a person who has previously served 3 terms on Grimsby Town Council. You will get a respectful, clear-thinking, financially focused, problem-solving, accountable, and transparent individual. Thank you, sorry about that. A person who understands the importance of town council and how it affects so many things that we take for granted on a daily basis. A person who understands what it is to be a leader and the responsibilities inherent with being a leader. A person who will make decisions based on what is best for the town and all its citizens, not to appease someone to get their vote. A person who will think outside the box because if it can be done better, why is it not? A person who will treat all with respect and dignity. A person who will admit to not being perfect. I'm not one to make big speeches, but the most rewarding part of this campaign has been talking to people and sharing their concerns and hopes for the future of our town. I hope I will have the opportunity to address these hopes and concerns as a member of your town council for the next 4 years. Thank you.
John? Who wants to go with Judith, please?
I would like to thank our hosts and all who have attended here tonight and assuming that's down. That's videotaping. Make it. My name is Carol Prosciutto. This sneeze we see the last one. My husband and I have lived here for 41 years and we're not going anywhere. I've been involved in the community through our kids' schools and then sports teams and in guiding. I have represented the Canadian Space Program to education costs on the shuttle and our partner program. 27 years as a licensed wildlife rehabilitator, I founded and run the Open Sky Raptor Foundation here in Grimsby, taking in birds from all over Ontario. I am new to the idea of being a politician, but never new to working in politics. I chose to run initially because of the discussion I held for 5 people who voted themselves raised, not 6 months after they came into office. Not because they hadn't done anything to prove themselves at that because it was at the start of the pandemic. Businesses are closing, people were out of jobs. And so, and no one knew how long. But they thought this was they were doing. They were looking at the town and basically saying, we're worth it, but you aren't. Just like,
You have to speak into that microphone.
Just a little bit closer, try it.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah. Just speak into it.
Okay. And in my opinion, it didn't get any better. Being a political politician means listening to the people of your town, working for the betterment of your town, building a trust that is honest for your town, and having your goal be that your town is the best and everyone knows it. It's going to take a lot to earn the trust back from the people of Grimsby, but a good council will do that. Everyone deserves to have their issues heard.
Thanks, Carol. Very much. So we have Dylan Burkham, is that I pronounce that correctly? Correct. Okay, so I apologize.
All right, hello everyone. I just wanted to start by thanking everybody that's here today, as well as the organizers. So my name is Dylan Breather. Majority of you probably know who I am, so I'll start with a bit of an introduction. So my wife and I moved to Grimsby just under 5 years ago. For those who live in the Briarwood area, you'll see me constantly being dragged around by my dog during the day. Outside of that, my background is actually in biomedical sciences. So I currently work as a sales rep for a biotech company. Prior to that, I did my master's at the University of Toronto, and as well I did my bachelor's at the University of Waterloo. Now, prior to that, I actually grew up in a really small town just north of Toronto, where we were best known for our football field being beside a sheep farm. The reason I bring this up is that I've lived in a number of different territories or different landscapes, and I've seen what works and what doesn't. When I moved to Grimsby, I found that we've really got the best of all the world experience. And as we're growing, we want to make sure that we grow properly, we grow responsibly, and I think it's really important that we have people in power and that represent our community properly. So that's what led me to run, to provide a voice for not only my generation that is coming up and moving into Grimsby, but also really respect the heritage of Grimsby. And if you elect me, I'll be sure to be available to everybody and really try and represent Grimsby as a town and as well as Grimsby as people in the community that we're living. Thank you.
If Dave Sharp.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I've been to all the debates so far, and this is the largest one of all of them. My name is Dave Sharp, and I was born and raised in Grimsby. I live in Port 2 with my wife and my young family. I'm an engineering technologist, and I work right here in Grimsby. I'm an estimator by profession, and my job is to track previous costs, think ahead, and prepare future budgets for construction projects for $5 million. I was elected in 2018 and have worked hard for the people I represent. With regard to development, I spent hours reviewing planning applications, posting them online via email. On top of my technical skills,
Dave, you want to bring it just a little bit closer?
on top of my technical skills, I also bring financial and planning skills to the table as a representative, and many more. You should vote for me because I've proven to fight for our town. We know change is coming, and if we don't plan our future properly, then we will lose our character. For example, the 7-story building proposed right here, if it's approved, that will set a precedent downtown, all of the work to. We've seen this pattern already in Grimsby on the Lake, which started at 4 stories, then 6 stories, 9, and then more. My opponent and the mayor voted yes, 7 stories downtown. Without my vote, downtown could be on the same trajectory as Grimsby on the Lake. So vote Dave Sharp, because I care about our future, and we're not afraid to stand up to developers what we want.
Thank you, everyone. We're now going to begin the other way. So, Dave, you're going to get a chance to speak again, because this is in reverse order now. So, what are the 2 most important issues in your ward? that you propose to work on if re-elected? So that's a 2-minute answer, and we'll, if you watch over here with the red flag, you'll have a 30-minute warning mark. Okay, Dave?
If I turn the speaker this way, I think it would be.
Okay, great, thanks again. So you can tell it is, and that's awesome.
Can't hear you.
So I said thank you, and
Timer's the guy.
the biggest issue is development, especially downtown, where the people I represent are begging for no more than 4 stories. My opponent and the mayor have already given up on our low-rise downtown, but I have not. They both voted yes to 7 stories right here from this process. If they're willing to double the height where these 2 significant heritage buildings stand, what makes you think that they're going to stand up for your neighborhood? Our existing neighborhoods need green spaces, protection from traffic issues, speed enforcement, adequate parking, drainage control, and more. I have shown foresight for the residents, and I will continue to plan for the things that we need. The other issue that I see is inflation. We're seeing double-digit cost increases, and Grimsby needs to be efficient to control taxes during inflation. We've already combined our fire department with Lincoln to make it stronger and to save money. We've received a lot of grants, we need to apply for more. And we need to plan ahead so we can get there. If we don't control our spending, this high inflation will hurt us all, especially seniors and young people. In my professional life, I'm responsible for this kind of budget management. That's my job, and that's one of the things that I bring to this town. Vote Dave Sharp for responsible development downtown, by the GO station, and for fiscal responsibility.
Thank you. We'll move on.
All right. I think Ward 2 is really interesting. That being because we've got both the actual downtown core as well as people that live up here. I think because of this, one of the major concerns that I've heard is actually really road safety. So we've got a number of streets. We've got Livingston, Main Street, as well as Ridge, which are all really high traffic areas, as well as Mountain and Wolverton. So I think increasing the level of sort of traffic calming measures that we can put in place there is one of the major things that we're looking for work out as elected council. And the second thing that I've heard a lot of outside of just general unhappiness with how council acted in the last term is just that a lot of people felt that they didn't have access to council, or that council was not being responsive to their questions, their calls or emails. And that's something that I really want to address. I make a very concerted effort to pick up my phone whenever anybody tries calling, and also have an email address where anybody can reach me. And though not active, particularly on Facebook or Instagram, I've set up accounts for people to reach out in that way as well. So I think if we can really work towards fostering more communication between council and the actual people that council represents, I think that'll go a long way and actually really help with more than just the topic here.
Thank you, Dylan. Sarah?
Okay, the 2 most important issues that I feel about Ward 2 are, one, the fact that we're growing, and growth needs to slow down a bit with regards to development. A lot of people I've heard say they don't want more houses, they don't want more condos. They want to have our heritage saved. And along with that is the greening. We need our green cover going on in this town. We need to keep the fact that what we have with the escarpment, with the green plan that we've got, yes, I know that's not exactly a perfect thing, but it is part and parcel of where we live. But we do need to take into consideration that what we have here is part of the biodiversity system, and people come from miles around just to see the hawk out here. We need to develop more in the way of working with nature and development. But we need to step back and we need to improve on things first before we decide if we're going to take down a whole whack of trees or develop some land and put up 13 houses all in one small corner. So these are things that I think are the concerns right now in this issue, or in this ward, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Don?
And number one at the north for me is intensification. The growth, how it's growing, is it capable of supporting that growth as we go forward? Concerns about hydro, sewer, water, can it support it? What it's going to do downstream from those developments if they come on board, when they do come on board. How do we keep it so that it can become more of a person or people community or living area instead of just being bricks and mortar? That's going to be the real challenge, as is working with builders. And that's kind of a funny term, but boy, they've got all the clout of the land tribunal, and we don't have the same kind of muscles, so we've got to learn how to make it win for us. Number two, and I'm going full disclosure right now, is I live just over here, 24 Mountain Street. It has to do with mountain access and mountain traffic. And all someone has to do is be out here or be up on the hill and compliment down in the suburbs and in built-up areas where people are just screaming. The cars are going too damn fast. Slow them down, and that's with calming, things in effect now, trying to get them to work. But we've got to find a better way of doing it to try to slow the traffic down. And we need to be able to move the pedestrians around a little bit safer. You walk longer and along Mount Street, and you start thinking about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Leanne.
Well, I really think there's two things, and they're actually related. And like pretty well everyone here has said, responsible growth. We've got to make sure that we use our intensification, or we put our intensification where it belongs, which is around the GO station. And what we need to do is to protect the heritage in our town, our small town. I'm thinking particularly about Main Street East, where we've come under a huge amount of pressure, and we're kind of losing that battle to put 7 stories where Coles is, and another 5, if not more, stories at the corner of Main and Nellis. These are big issues, because what happens when you take all of that growth and we don't have anywhere to expand our infrastructure. We've added 2 new developments in the East End, the Phelps one and the Grand Haven. So, and a new school. So, we're going to get gridlocked if we don't do something about this, and we won't be able to. We'll have a new hospital that nobody will be able to get to in an emergency. So, growth, protecting our heritage, increasing our commercial growth, improving our infrastructure, traffic, road safety, and I'll talk a lot about road safety. We have to do more. We try the bollards. They're not good enough. They don't slow down traffic enough. We're going to have to use speed bumps. They may cost money. Yes, I've heard that one councillor say, well, we can't do that because it costs money. Well, we've got lives to protect. The other thing I want to do is build a community that supports that Grimsby is an enjoyable place to live and play. So supporting our parks, our recreation, increasing our tree canopy.
Thank you, Leanne.
Producer.
If you want to hold on to that microphone, because we're going to go into the second session, part of this session. So these should be fairly quick. Yes, well, they have to be yes or no, but you can add a little bit of an explanation, no more than, say, 15 seconds. So we'll start with this first question. We'll ask everybody down the row this first question, and if you can pass the mic back, that would be helpful. So would you would you support implementing a process and a system to improve the response to residents? For example, St. Catharines has a citizens first process. I don't know if any of you are aware of it. If you call the city of St. Catharines as a resident, you go immediately put to someone who will help you with your question or concern. So the question is, would you implement a process of this type to deal with residents' questions and ensure that there is appropriate response times to resident satisfaction? Leanne?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think we do a good enough job right now, and that has to change. We have to be resident focused, and we have to be more responsive. We should be here to serve, not you serve the town, or the town serves you, and that's what.
Thank you. Don?
Yes.
I'm going to echo it, yes, because I think that every voice in this town should be heard, and they should have an answer that is given in a definitely good time for them, so that they can reply back if necessary.
Dylan?
Yeah, sorry to keep it boring, but I'm also going to say yes. And, you know, I think we've all been there where you send an email or try getting called, the most frustrating thing in the world is not getting a response back and not knowing if anybody's even seen it. So, yes, absolutely.
Thank you. I'm going to say, of course, I already respond. People who contact me on Facebook, text, and by email, I answer right away. Like, same day, next day, as soon as I can, always answer you. I try to connect your issues with staff or the person.
Thank you. The question again, I guess I won't repeat it, but it's about implementing a system at the town hall, so not just for an individual. Thanks, Dave. I just want to make sure, I apologize because I maybe didn't explain it clearly enough. I'll move along to the next question. Do you think, and this is a good one, most council meetings go on too long? Dave, you have to answer this first. If elected, how would you make them more efficient and effective?
So pay attention to this.
It's okay, no, I apologize. Want me to read it again?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Do you think most council meetings go on too long? If elected, how would you make them more efficient and effective?
Yes, I think the council meeting is going too long. And how we can make them more efficient and effective is for our councilors to read the agendas in advance. The agendas are produced several days before the meeting. So we read the agendas, and then the questions that you have, we can call and we can ask the town staff. They can answer them by phone or email before we get to the meeting. So we don't have to spend a long time.
Thanks, Dave. Dylan?
I'm going to say yes as well. In terms of how to actually shorten that, I think one of the biggest things is it seems that when I was watching council meetings, that people often got off track. I think having somebody that is going to keep everything sort of on track and relevant for the conversation will be a major for being shorter.
Carol?
I'm going to say yes too, simply because some of those meetings just went on, and there was, like just repetitiveness going on in the meeting. What I would like to see is somebody being a moderator, and that the meeting itself is made clear to everybody, and the questions are read in the meeting beforehand.
Thank you, Don.
Yes, too long. The only way you're going to fix that is return to the committee system that this town had forever and ever and ever, and it worked, and forget this council of the whole.
Thank you. You can be really enthusiastic at the end. Sorry, Dan.
So you stole my thunder again. So yeah, we gotta go back to spending committees. The meetings are way too long, and I find that there's actually a lot of posturing that seems like every councilor has to say the same thing. If someone expresses an opinion you share, just let it go, move on.
Thank you. Leanne, do you want to hold on to that? We're just going to do another question here. If elected, would you consider selling Grimsby Hydro?
Still, on this one, out on the debate, because there's a whole lot of working pieces to this that, quite frankly, I don't know the ins and outs of, and wouldn't be unless I was on council. Because you can't say one way or the other.
Thank you, Don. Karen?
I'm going to say no, simply because of the fact that when the Eastern Seaboard went out several years ago, Grimsby was the only town that had power. People were coming from all over the place. There might be a lot more things that I don't know about, but I still say no.
Thank you, Carol. Dylan?
We would know. So I'll be entirely honest, I think there's probably a lot more I need to learn from this, but the one thing that I did learn watching some of these other debates is that from my understanding it is currently a profitable asset to have, and I think offloading a profitable asset for a large sum of money really increases the amount of
Thank you.
risk going on.
Thank you. Dave?
So, I'm on the board of Grimsby Directors. I'm on the board of directors of Grimsby Power. I can't talk in too much detail about this answer, but I can say that we do earn a dividend from Grimsby Power. It's cash flow positive, and it's a good investment for the town to own. If the future of electric cars is already here, the company will increase in value. We can always sell it later if we have to. So no.
Thank you, Dave. So now we're going to get into the questions that you have provided to everyone here. So there's quite a few questions on the same subject, but written a different way. So I hope I'm going to be able to capture this. So Dave, this is going to be where you start. What will you do to create housing that is affordable for all income levels, and I think rental as well as attainable and affordable for seniors? I'm just sort of paraphrasing. Will you consider, this is a two-part question, to develop a task force or have a task force that will look at affordable housing? So is everybody clear? So what will you do to create affordable housing for all income levels? I guess the other part of that question is, would you consider creating a task force as well to look at affordable housing in Grimsby? Dave?
Sorry, just quickly, how long are your names?
You have 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Sorry, 1 minute. Ooh. Yeah, I think it was sent out, and my apologies. I think it was 3 earlier, but it's now 1. Thank you.
Okay. So we have already approved some affordable housing at the old police station through a company called Christian Horizons. And government affordable housing is run by the Niagara Regional Housing. Private affordable housing could be required by developers. That housing would have to be transferred to a charity or to the Niagara Regional Housing to operate. As far as housing affordability for everyone, as a younger person, I'm well aware that housing has become unaffordable. Starter home in Grimsby, or townhouse, can cost $700,000 to $900,000. And that's not very affordable. Growth is inevitable, and it is somewhat out of our hands. An increase in the housing supply should bring housing prices down. But it's town council's job to manage that growth, when and where we grow.
Thank you, Dave. Dylan? Sorry, is everybody clear on the question? Just want to make sure. Yeah?
Okay, so for me, I think a lot of the affordable housing, where that's going to come from, is going to be with help from upper levels of government as well. We can only do so much as a municipality to really ensure that we're getting to that level. That being said, one thing that we can do is look into different ways to increase the availability of housing, something such as moving single-family homes and rezoning those into ones where we put duplexes and quadplexes is one way that we can look into actually increasing the amount while also not having high-rise buildings. Of course, we'd have to look a lot further at other options as well, but that's something that we could start with there. As for the actual task force, I think it would have to be something we would have to look at as council on what the return on such an investment would be. I think because of the additional levels of government, I think it could be good, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're not using funds done on purpose.
Thank you. Carol?
Affordable housing. Okay, that's a hard one for anybody with regards to the fact that in this town there are buildings that sit empty. And if those buildings could be refurbished by the town, rather than sitting there in receivership or whatever reason they are. That would also help with our affordable housing. But people who are homeless, and we work with GBF, and you get things going that way. As far as the task force goes, I don't know, because I mean, over the course of the years, we've spent a lot of money on people who go out and do things and, paying them $75,000 to find out whether or not, a roadway needs to be fixed. Well, the task force, I'm not 100% sure that I would go for that. I'd rather hear from the citizens of Grimsby and have them let me know as to how much they
Thanks.
want to put into it.
Thank you. Don?
Affordable housing. I came up off the east side of Windsor. Back there, we've got wartime housing. Those houses used to be up around WF Urban High School. Families of 6 and 8. 4-room house on the main floor, 2 bedrooms upstairs, and a bathroom and a basement. Now, people starting off want to have 4,000 square feet, dual suites, sinks with stainless steel and all this nonsense. It's a sky-high limit that they want to start. They don't want to have housing, but if they can't sell them, they're not going to build them.
Thank you. Leanne?
Well, I think that one of the first things that we have to do is we have to increase our complement of rental housing. We have very little in Grimsby, and that gives people a place to start out. It also gives the region the opportunity to subsidize some of the rentals. So I think one of the things that we need to do is to work more closely with the region to see how they can support us in providing more affordable housing. The other thing I think we can do is start working with our developers and our better incentives that we can use with developers to get them to support this kind of housing stock, or at least something complementary that would be helpful. So whether we need a task force to do this, I don't think so. I think we just need to collectively put our heads together and think about how we can do this better.
Thank you very much. Hold on to that. We're just going to do a few more questions. We've got some time, certainly. What do you offer the residents of the escarpment? Will residents on the escarpment get equalized representation or equal representation?
Well, I can tell you that during the course of the last 4 years, I was responsible for changing the addresses for people living in Grimsby that had Beansville addresses. It took 3 years of work with Canada Post to get that changed. I also introduced a motion to start reviewing our ditches and our drainage, because I don't think that we pay enough attention. The other thing is, as I mentioned earlier, about the hunting bylaw. I think we need to look at that quite soon, because the needs of the mountain on the escarpment are quite different. We need to be able to look at how are we letting residents on the mountain be able to protect their livestock, while we also keep the community safe below the escarpment.
Don?
People seem to be trying to draw a line between the mountain and down below here in the city, shall we say. People up on the hill, really, they just want to be left alone. They don't want anything to do with all the traffic that we've got down here, with the idea of no side yard setbacks. They just want to be left alone. So don't make a big deal out of it when it's not there.
Thanks, Don. Carol?
As a resident on the escarpment, I totally disagree with you. We are ignored up there. You guys you get all the amenities down here. We get garbage pickup, which is great. I mean, hey, I'm glad to see our garbage is going somewhere. We have snow trucks, or the snow plows that come by, but I'm pretty sure those guys don't know where the button is to drop the blade, because they do not drop it. But What they do is they drop some sand, go 50 feet, drop some more sand. So yeah, there are different things that are going on up on the escarpment that we are concerned about. The speeding down the roads, the ditches, and everything else like this. So equal representation, no, we don't have it, but when you're on your council, hey, you got my voice, okay? Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Dylan?
Thanks. Yeah, so I think from my side, I think it's definitely good to have representation from the actual escarpment side. Myself, I live down here by the old high school, so I don't actually represent the people on the escarpment, but if I like it, yes, I would definitely try to make sure that those voices are heard. I think one of the key things that really comes to mind for me is Bridge Road specifically. Whenever I drive down Bridge Road, I also see a lot of cyclists who are cycling on Bridge Road. And increasing, putting in a bike lane or something like that would be one way that we could, number one, make people feel a little bit safer on Bridge Road, pedestrians included, because it makes more separation alongside. I would love to see some more mountain access put in, where people can access the Bruce Trail, and people then can use that same access from the escarpment to come down and take advantage of some of the amenities that people do get down here for.
Thank you. Dave?
The needs of the people on the mountain are in some ways different than the people down the mountain, and in some ways the same. One thing I know is a big concern for the people on the mountain is closing Wolverton during snowstorms. And there's only a few accesses to get on the mountain, and Wolverton is a big one that needs to monitor. So we need to work to keep Wolverton open, to be prepared when the snow starts to fall. The other thing is drainage. So they do have ditches and sump pumps, and they need to get water off their properties, and then the ditches need to be cleared so that they can get it away from their property. That's an issue on the mountain and on the mountain. Everybody needs to get water away from their yards and away from their faces. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I'm going to go to another question. Tony? As you're aware, the region and school board take a majority of the property tax collected in any municipality across the region. The mayor and regional councillor represent Grimsby's interests at the region. One of the ongoing discussions is the development of a new truck route in the western part of the region, and one of the suggested routes is extending Bartlett Avenue to be the new truck route for the region. Would you support the extension of Bartlett Avenue up the escarpment as a new truck route to absorb the truck traffic for the west end of the region? Dave?
Thank you. Yes, I would support the extension. And because the people in my ward that I represent, we need to get trucks off of Mount Street. The dump trucks, and also the semi-trucks that are going up and down the mountain. But not just trucks, it's also traffic. There's a lot of people coming from Smith, a lot of people coming from all the areas of West London. This is their way to get down to the highway. They're going to wherever they go. And that causes high volume of traffic. Often people speeding. It makes it dangerous on that street. And we really need a place where we can direct that traffic. And that's part of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Dylan?
Well, personally, I actually have not done any research into this, so I can't give a yes or no answer whether or not I would support it. I would want to make sure that we actually properly review that information before I would say yes or no to such a statement. That being said, I absolutely see the benefit of moving trucks and increasing the access. As I just mentioned, I think adding more mountain access is really beneficial and could be helpful. That being said, we have to look at what we would be replacing when doing so. So I can't say yes or no either way in this regard, but I'm looking more into the actual specifics. But yeah, I can understand why that might be a case.
Thank you. Carol?
Expanding Bartlett Avenue is double-edged sword. First of all, you're going through a part of the escarpment that's going to have all the trees and everything that you can take down. Secondly, you've already got housing development started there. What happens when you take out those trees and you start putting that road up there? What about the water that's going to be cast or put the road out there and the water that's cascading down the sides, where's it gonna go? It's gonna go into those homes that are being built there. Also, you're asking again for the people on the escarpment to be ignored. It costs money for us to have our water truck in. The trucks come down here into Grimsby, and if they have to go up Bartlett Avenue, our prices are going to increase because they have to draw them over that way. If you could put it so that water trucks are the only ones coming up on Mountain, fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Don?
Part of the extension will probably be a no-go at this point. I don't think that there's enough explosive material to be able to blow the escarpment apart like that. And plus, they just put in the reservoir right up in front of it, so you're going to have to drive through that. If you want to think about what to do with your escarpment, take dirt road and run that straight up. Nice easy bench, nice and soft, easy on the trucks, easy on the noise. And there's nothing right in front of it.
Thank you. Leanne?
Yes, I support the Bartlett extension. I think it's necessary. And I think as the province keeps pressuring us to build more and more, not just down in Grimsby, but throughout the region and Smithfield, they have to support us with the infrastructure to do that. They can't put pressures to do one thing without providing the support we need to do it. So yes, I support the Bartlett extension. We need to find a way to move people around.
Thank you. Hold on to that right. The GO station requires private partnerships. How will you encourage developers to partner to bring the GO station to Grimsby?
Well, that's a very interesting question. I think some developers are already quite interested in that area and have made advances in getting ready for the GO station and just putting in development. So I think what we have to do is to sit down with those developers and discuss what some of their plans are and how we can find solutions that are mutually beneficial to the developer and the people of Grimsby. Thank you.
Don?
Good question. I do not see the developers want to come on board because the last thing they want is another development charge for something that is going to be Metrolinx driven and based on their business models, and they're going to be able to tell if they can afford it or not. But to put another charge on everybody else and it's just going to go on the eventual homeowner or renter or whatnot, no, don't think so.
Carol?
I don't know much about development other than the usual cost. The GO station, there's a number of GO stations that don't have housing all around it. If anything, you just want to think about a parking lot. But again, we're into an area where Carolyn and Forest is. So the destruction and everything else like this that we want to do for parking, it doesn't benefit the people out in the east end of Grimsby if you develop around there. You're only developing it for the people who are going to buy into those homes. And so they just walk out the door so that they can fit. So no, I'm partnership with the developers, I don't think it's going to work.
Thank you. Dylan?
Yeah, so I don't actually really agree with the stance on this in terms of forcing Grimsby to go with a public-private partnership. That being said, I think this is an area where we've got to think outside the box a little bit. We do know that we have developers that are interested in building in the area. I think doing something where we actually put in some mixed-use type of development where we've got commercial properties on the main level and a few condos in an area that is already built up with high rises. I think that's going to be something that would allow developers who may have an option of then having that commercial access as well as having more people interested in the to negotiations as opposed to having it a trial.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. So I think that, I know that there's already developers who are interested in building the fuel station. And private partnership is not a bad thing. As governments overspend on construction, private developers can be more competitive and costs down. So the downside is the developers want their developments approved by the province, not us. So with my technical skills, I'm an asset to the council to help manage the needs of this town and to negotiate to make sure the developers pay their fair share of building around the
Thanks, Dave. So then, Dave, this is for you. Do you believe heritage is a priority of the town? If yes, what do you think is the best strategy to advance this priority in the next term of council?
Yes, I think that heritage is a priority in town. We need to focus on it. So I think that certain heritage buildings should be preserved, like the Nels Burgess House and many other older homes in Grimsby. But we need to invest money in these heritage homes. And that means we need an item on our taxes for it. And so we do have to pick and choose which homes are important and then invest money, like I said. And so I believe heritage should be respected, especially downtown, by using building materials like brick and stone and not modern contemporary stucco, glass, and anodized aluminum. New buildings downtown should use materials that respect the original look of downtown, and they should be under full.
Thank you, Dylan.
Yes, I absolutely think that heritage is important to this town. I think that's very apparent when you go around and talk to people that live in the town. I think, as Dave mentioned, it's important that we do preserve this, and we do have to be a little bit picky on how we are going to go about doing this, both from just how we decide which buildings should be their heritage and what we're going to invest in to make sure that these heritage buildings don't end up falling apart and then make us look like just we don't care about heritage. So I think we've got the heritage district study that's been done. I think building on that will be a really good next step to declare what we are actually going to be protecting. And then it's going to be sort of moving beyond that and figuring out how we are going to actually fund that.
Thank you, Carol.
Heritage is extremely important. It brings people together, and it also helps other people understand where they came from and where we came from. And there's a lot of history in this town, and the buildings that can be saved should be saved. And it would be great if we could just turn around and have, like a whole section of this town where it's all, like everybody knew where the heritage was, and like this. Now, with all of these things, you also have to understand that with heritage, there are some things that fall apart. Everybody knows that when you get older, the knees go, right? So it is something that we have to look into and find out what it is worth it. Thank you.
Don?
Heritage, yes, you can preserve it. Let me tell you what, full disclosure, here we go. 24 Mountain Street, right over here, the front two rooms are 1835 or 1837. I can tell you what it takes to keep an old building going. It's not for the faint of heart, but it can be done and it should be done. But the only thing is, I think unless things have changed, we kind of need a heritage committee, don't we?
Thanks very much, Don. Dan? Okay. You guys are doing great. I know. Okay, Dan.
So thank you, yes, heritage is very important, particularly for a small town. And we all know that once it's gone forever. But I think we need to do more to support the people that are buying heritage homes so that they can maintain them. Maybe we have to look at, tax benefits. Maybe we have to look at finding ways to facilitate them to be able to get grants to help maintain their homes. The other thing that we have to do is properly staff our planning department with heritage experts so that we've got the staff support and multiple staff support to be able to protect these assets.
Thank you. This is a really good question. Sort of. In a minute. I'm going to get.
I want to ask a question.
Yeah, it's a minute. And
But when you put that up, does that mean you've got 15 seconds left?
You were close. That was actually a 10-second warning, but
I jumped in at the time. So
a little bit.
yeah, so I'll give you another 5 seconds. How's that? I'll make that work for you. I thought he was waving at me, so. Okay, so this is a really good question. Leanne, when GSS closes, what should be done about the property and the building?
Well, I'd like to see GSS building remain in the community for a community purpose. I'd like to see the property around GSS used in a way for the community. So whether, we look at making deals with the school board or whomever, but I'd like it to be purpose for the community. And I don't want to see development there. I'd rather see us do something with an exceptional park, with maybe tennis courts and basketball courts and soccer courts and what have you, baseball diamond. Like, let's do something for the community. It's ours. We pay for it with our taxes. We pay for it with our taxes. So as far as I'm concerned, we own it. So let's keep it and use it for the community.
Thank you. Don?
I wish the heck GSS was still going to be a high school. It's typically used about 25% of the money that's gone into the new place. Refurbish GSS as thing would be just top line, state of the art, and the other schools could be, and still take care of the community. So that said, you're not going to spitball this in real quick because there's a whole lot of things coming into play. Part of that building is, I believe, designated. So the section of it is, so you've got to dance with that. And then the community itself is going to want to really have some input as to how that property would be used and how it could be brought into being a real treasure for the community.
Thank you. Carol?
Okay, GSS is something that I've thought about for a long time. And, okay, I would love to see that building turned into affordable housing for the homeless in Grimsby. Working with GBF, we do this. That school already has a theater, and it's a beautiful theater, so it could be used. And it would welcome in a whole new set of productions, not only by our own town players, but also from outside. The gym could be used by the fort. It could also be rented out. There's labs that can be converted into meeting rooms. If people wanted to use them as meetings or as, celebration rooms, whatever like they do in the condos in Toronto. The monies generated by renting these places out could help also facilitate the maintenance and repairs for the building. So it's a win-win situation. Anyway, it could become self-sufficient to a degree. Anyway, I just figure it's been around for a long time. Let's keep it.
Thanks, Carol. Dylan?
So I live just down the road from GSS, so I definitely want to see it stay within the community. I go and I run the track every week, and there's a ton of people that use that park and the field to have their dogs and their kids run around and play. So I think just from that outside and having access to a park area for the community is great. As for the actual building itself, I actually like a lot of what Carol has said, that I think we can repurpose some of the elements. It is pretty much free meeting space that we have. There's a gym already there, a computer already there. I know that affordable housing is something that we could look into as well. There's really a number of possibilities that we can go down. I would also love to see if we can repurpose for something that has maybe something that's come up a few times talking with people is, could we have an indoor pool put in? And, you know, having a gym access with a pool in there wouldn't be a cheap venture to go into, but it's something that, you know, let's think outside the box a little bit and repurpose it in a way that's going to really benefit the community.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you. So first of all, I just want to ask a quick question. How many people in this room went to GSS? Quite a few people. There's a lot of people that are being from Grimsby and stayed in Grimsby, and I'm one of them. But there is, because the portion of the school is heritage designated, there's a builder in Hamilton that repurposes schools into apartments. And they fix them up to make older looking, nice buildings. The classroom is about 750 square feet. Hallways and stairwells are rated for access to those buildings. So that portion on the Bolton Ave has to be preserved. It could be repurposed into apartments. Maybe affordable, maybe market rate. But that's something that's come up. The problem is that there is asbestos in secondary school. And that has to be remediated, and there's some cost to that. Also, I think the town should buy a football field and gymnasium tech rooms. We should find a way to repurpose that for use.
Thank you, Dave. Dave, this is for you. What do you feel are Grimsby's top 3 recreational priorities?
Okay, thanks. So for Parks and Rec's priorities, first I put on my list is one continuous bike route across town, either on Main Street East and West or the rail trail along the CN Trail corridor. Another is stairs at Centennial Park that would go up the hill and connect to the Bruce Trail. They can be used for walking up and down for exercise. Also, proper hardball land for youth to play hardball. And continuing the waterfront trails. Mentioning the 50 point. I know that's 4, but those are all important things on our part.
Thank you. Dylan?
Yeah, so I think one of the main ones Dave already mentioned is I would love to see more access to Bruce Trail from down here. So whether that's stairs at Centennial Park or stairs elsewhere, I think that would be a great add to your recreational standpoint. In addition, yeah, I think it's worth pointing out is I love going to do a little walk on the Grimsby beaches, and I think it's going to be an area that once we get the Castlelake Waterfront project underway, it's going to be beautiful. People will want to go there. And I think making that and extending it further would be also a great add-on. And then finally, from a recreational standpoint, as I mentioned in the last answer, I think if we were able to find a way to get an indoor pool, that's something that having aquatic facilities for aging population is great for keeping everybody active. As well, it allows us to provide, swimming classes to younger people. That could be life-saving, especially with living on a lake. So I think that would be the point.
Thank you, Carol.
Okay, to me, one of the biggest things is we need an indoor pool that is affordable for everybody in this town. I mean, it's nice that the Y has one, but not everybody can afford it. We need to fix up the parks so that they're not just for the people. We need something where the older kids can go to too. And even for the adults too, to go and sit if they want to. We also need to fix up, like the water trail and the accesses to our lakes, using whatever means is possible, because some of those steps going down to the lake are crumbling, and we're going to be in a lot of problems if somebody gets hurt on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Number 1 is going to be a hardball diamond, and not just for the little kids. You did the diamond is good for the U14s, 15s, 16s. Those guys can certainly put what's over there at the Fly Road and Mountain and at the Rotary Park. But the Rotary Park, that kind of diamond, and probably up in Sulphur where that's the only place with room. Bike paths, obviously. Dylan hit it on, and I did earlier about on the start, but the bike paths, I think there's a lot of room for utilizing the escarpment for the bikes. Now, it's a matter of getting them up there. Pretty tough to, you can go up mountain, but you gotta go on the sidewalk and try to expand this, the mountain or Wolverton. I don't see that happening, but I think the escarpment would be a great place for the, to grow the bikes.
Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you very much. I think we need safe bike trails. I think that's something that we need to look at. I'd like to see the renovation of the pier and the pump house down by the lake. I think that's an absolutely beautiful area, and it's not getting the attention it deserves. We renovate that pier, we can have kids and families go fishing off the pier like they used to. And like a hardball diamond, I think we need one in Grimsby. And the other thing I would like to do is see if there's a developer who might be interested in helping us with an indoor pool. I know that's
That's great. Thank you very much. This question comes up a lot with municipalities, and I think it'll probably a lot of debates across this region. Should there be better policing as regional, and better bylaw enforcement in the community? Leanne?
Absolutely. I mentioned this with the current staff sergeant and said, you know, we need more than 6 police in West Niagara, and that's about what we've got. We've had a rash of car thefts. You know, it's just getting really ridiculous. And with only 6 police officers and 1 assigned to Grimsby, you know, we're really at a disadvantage. The other thing is, like, when we give the region quite a bit of money, you know, I mean, more than 2/3 of our taxes go to the region. I want to make sure that the region gives back to us at least what we're putting in. So when they hire 40 new police officers, I want to see some of them coming to Grimsby.
Thank you. Don?
In our regional, it certainly has changed over the years. I remember when I was here 30 years ago, you knew the names of the men and women that were in the cars, patrolling, and one time they used to have a couple of them walking Main Street. They had a bicycle, but you don't see that anymore. They're all, you know, sequestered in their vehicles, and they have to use the computerized equipment that they have. But if we get back to more of a community standpoint, I don't know if I want to do it, but we need to look at it.
Just want to remind you, this is a 2-part question. Better policing and bylaw enforcement. Carol?
Don't have lots of time left.
Busy, okay, Don. You want to take a second? Second? No.
I think we're deficient on bylaw enforcement. I'm not quite sure why. I won't know until as such time as we get elected so that I can find out what the heck's going on. But we've got to put more fight into it. And yeah,
Thanks,
it's got to increase.
That's great. Carol?
Okay, regional policing, that's going to be kind of difficult for us to make any decisions on simply because it's not in our purview. But it is also something that we don't have a handle on simply because there's not enough people on the police force. Just look at a lot of those jobs that are going around, there's not enough employees there. So if we could manage to get back to what Don was talking about, where you've got the police officers, where you know their names, the biker police officers and everything, it was wonderful when you walk down the street and stand there and talk to them. It was great. But again, it happens, right? Bylaw enforcement, yeah, we need more of that. It's difficult again because I think we've only got one in our area. Like that's a long area for one person to handle. And you know, if you've got a day where it's bad, you're going to have a grumpy bylaw enforcement.
Thank you, Carol. Dylan?
We've lost the favor for this time. Yeah, so I think from the Niagara Regional Police standpoint, as Don and Carol mentioned, it'd be great if we were able to get back to the level where we got community engagement with them. I don't know if that's something that's possible. What I do know is that we've talked a lot about people having issues with speeding enforcement and what. So I think if we could at least get some action on that front, and maybe have radar or present in certain areas, so I know it's not a big favorite. It's safety that we're really trying to enforce and get in there. As for bylaw, we actually need to increase our bylaw presence. The number of times where cars are illegally parked, I can see them, they sometimes block people from getting to their own driveways during snowstorms. It's really difficult to even sometimes get your car really out of the snow or to where it needs to be. A lot of the time because the road couldn't be properly plowed. So I think enforcing that a little better would be beneficial.
Thank you, Dave.
So, the Niagara Regional Police, when we bear tax is $4,500, I don't know, but it's like $1,500 I just for police. And you go on the Niagara Regional website, you can see breakdown of what goes to what. Policing is the number one item in the Niagara Regional tax levy. So, we pay a lot because our homes are valuable, but we don't get a lot of service. Police end up in St. Catharines, Welland, and Niagara Falls. And we're lucky because we have fairly low crime here. We want to keep it that way. But there is some crime, and we want to have crime prevention. We don't want to wait until someone steals your catalytic converter to have a cop come around and say, oh yeah, it's gone. It's like, thanks. Could have been here last night. Stop. But for bylaw, we do have more than one bylaw officer. We have a couple of part-time guys who they enforce parking on their own, but in general, bylaws only enforce on complaints. So it's very helpful.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave. Do you support and will you advocate for a tree protection preservation bylaw on public and private land in Grimsby? If not, explain why not. Dave?
So, yes, I think that we should protect certain trees, but again, like heritage, we need to invest in these trees. If private property owners require to keep trees, then the town should somehow contribute to maintenance, and eventually the cost of removal of that tree when it's necessary. For that reason, this bylaw is a very complex issue. And I'm on the Grimsby Green Committee, our first Green Committee, and tree protection is one of our goals on that committee.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dylan? That was a name, wasn't it?
No, someone else's name.
Someone else's name, if you were finished.
Sorry, so last year I purchased 5 8-foot tall sugar maples, which are native to this area, and I donated 3 of them to the town. They're planted at Southwood Park. One day these trees will be 100 feet tall and a great source of shade. And it's a really nice thing to leave a 100-year legacy behind. And it's something that I really enjoy. Thanks.
Thank you, Dylan.
All right. I absolutely think that we should support public protection of trees. I think having a greater number of trees in the community actually will decrease temperatures. And like it or not, the world's getting hotter. And having more trees can help prevent that. And I think that'll be great within our community. As for private access, I think that that's going to be something that really has to be on a case-by-case basis. I don't know enough about the actual flora that we have here in Grimsby to that in-depth of level to know whether we have tree species outside of the Carolinian forest. I'm not sure where else we need to protect it, but I do think that is one area in the woodlot area that we should be protecting.
Thank you, Carol.
See, trees are homes for a lot of animals, insects. They also give us shade. They cool down our earth. They give us oxygen. So yeah, having the support of looking after the trees that are in our area is very important to me. People who plant trees are people who know that they'll never be around to enjoy them at the maturity when they get to be bigger. So these are selfless people who plant trees. So yes, you've got to do that. And you've got to do it not only for the beauty of the trees, but for the health of the whole of the area, sweeping our town and everything. And it will cut down on a lot of problems with water and everything else. So thank you.
Thank you. Don?
Thank you. The tree idea might fly a little bit more so if maybe we went back to the days when we had vacuum coming along the street and pick up those leaves, you know, and when they're coming down underneath maple and whatnot. It made quite a difference because a lot of people now just do not want anything to do with raking leaves, and they'd rather just make sure it's all clear cut.
Thank you. Dan?
Well, I think trees are really important, and that's why I introduced to the Carolinian Tree Initiative to make Grimsby the Carolinian capital of Canada. And as I said earlier, one of the things that I will do if we're elected is to bring forward a motion where we take an accounting of all of our old growth trees and consider them as town assets to be protected. And I think that should go for both public and private property. Protected and cared for.
Thank you, Dan. It's a question that has come through email. It's a very good one, and it's something we haven't touched on. What is your plan to attract investment, capital, and new business and business expansion to Grimsby? Thank you.
Well, we just did a strategy to attract business, an economic development strategy. And it had a lot of great ideas in it, but it had a lot of great ideas in it. So what I think we need to do is to look at it, prioritize them, pick one or two, and start moving forward on them. One of the things that I would like to see would be a tax incentive to new business, so that they have an opportunity for the first, say, 2 to 3 years, get a tax break so that they can get settled. And that would be a way to attract businesses if they have a bit of a tax break to come here.
Thank you. Don?
The easiest way to attract the business is to actually get your existing businesses on side with you. Because they're the ones that are talking to the companies that are thinking about moving or looking at moving or wanting to move. So those are the people that you have to engage. You can have all the ideas that we want and have an economic development person walking around. But if we get the people engaged, and this man sitting right across from me was can tell us about a company called RMP Engineering, now called Simcoe. They brought 2 businesses into this town back a few years ago because they were engaged in an approach to say, hey, what can you tell us about people that want to come here?
Thank you, Don. Carol?
Okay, attracting businesses to this area. A lot of people went into homegrown businesses due to the pandemic, and they were selling a lot of stuff from their home. One of the things I would like to see is that people, and I know there's a lot of people here in Grimsby who are doing that right now. And what I'd like to see is something like to entice these people to have an area where they can actually go to and sell their goods, not only online but outside too. And this way, if we're attracting small businesses, then you start getting bigger businesses interested because you have the pull. So it's something that you have to start looking at from the town. You think locally and think globally at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
So this question, Don, we kind of took my ideas there. I think we got to incentivize getting new businesses off the ground. I think that will allow them to really get their foothold and really become a part of the community. And similarly, we got to make sure that businesses we do have continue to thrive. If they don't thrive, then why would a new business go in and try and just take over and do the same things they were doing? Now, both those things could be benefited by actually doing proper growth and making our community vibrant, that people want to come to Grimsby. So I think by putting in some of these initiatives that we've talked about, making Grimsby more accessible, making additional active transportation type of areas such as bike lanes in place, more access to the town, that this will drive people to Grimsby, people that live here, as well as people that might just want to come and visit for an afternoon. And I think that will help these businesses survive and thrive in the community.
Thank you. Dave?
Thanks. So we just hired an economic development officer. The job is to work with existing businesses and to attract new businesses. This also connects us to a network of economic development around the region and beyond. We've recently approved close to 100,000 square foot industrial facility in South Service Road, which will create 500 jobs and will increase our tax base.
Thank you. This is the last question before we do our closing. So I want you to think about this one carefully. So what is your vision for Grimsby in the next 5, 10, 15 years? And what specific steps would you take to achieve that vision? For example, would you get together as a counselor, hire a mediator to help you develop a strategic plan? Would you do something more dramatic and go out to the community and ask them what their vision is as part of your vision? Dave?
So thanks, Doug. And what I want to say, because I said this is a pretty sport issue, but it's also the biggest town issue. So it's growth, it's development. And so my vision into the future requires is an amendment to our official plan. And that has to be done. Like, there's laws that require us to do this. We will be doing it in the next term. What we need to do is we need to get input from residents. All of you who come out are going to come to our public open houses and we're going to talk about what we want, what you want, so that I can be your voice in the town council. And then we need to make an official plan, an amendment to our entire plan for the town. We need to make it realistic so that we can enforce it. Because the official plan is the tool. I know people will say, we can't stop that province, but we can. Our official plan is our tool at the province. It gives us power. It is reasonable. We say, this is what we're allowing. And it's not out to lunch. The province will let us enforce. And we need to make a reasonable official plan. And that is the vision for the next term.
Yeah, so I think for my vision, no, I think I've got my own vision, but I don't think that it particularly matters that much. My vision is actually having the people in the community, the residents of Grimsby, putting forward your ideas so that we can take the community as a whole towards what we want as a people and really make this place a better place to live and draw more people into Grimsby so they can experience what we have. That being said, I think really what we're looking for and what most people want is balance. We need balance, number one, on our council so we can actually make decisions and enforce things properly. Then number two, we actually want to make sure that we do balance that heritage that we've spoken about with this growth. Whether that's making a new plan for the future so that we can have that, of course, Dave mentioned, or whether it's actually just, working with what we currently have in place, and trying to build off that. I think with a little bit more balance, we'll be able to really grow the community the way that we want to do it, maintain the heritage, and really growing and moving forward.
Thank you, Carol. You guys are getting better at it. Just go right on the money there. Way to go. Carol?
My vision for Grimsby is 10 years down the line, I would love to see reoccurrences of things that happened before in Grimsby. I would like to see us get together for different festivities, like Festival of 40 that we used to have, where we used to have kids parade down the road. I'd like to see things like that be brought up, the heritage. I'd also like to see us slow down and take a step back and look at how we're developing in this town. Do we want to become a suburb of another city? Because if we keep on going with the developing, we've only got one way to go, and that's up. I would like to see us be a town of recreation and theater. I think it would be great if we could have an indoor pool, but I also think it would be fabulous if we could have some kind of a movie theater here too. Yeah, these are all things that are costing money and everything, but yeah, it's part and parcel of the vision. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you. Vision, to create a vision, to grow vision and to identify what that vision is very complex. Because as soon as we go and say something, then it wants to change. It becomes very organic. It's like our life, like our families growing, everything changes. But there is a way for that. And Dylan, I'm going to paraphrase you and just what you said. It can be done, it should be done, and we can make it happen. And it's something we can build on and have to hold for, not for us, but we're toast, maybe for our kids.
Thank you, Leanne.
There's a small country in the Himalayas called Bhutan, and they measure their prosperity by gross national happiness. So what I'd like to see is a very healthy, prosperous community, a happy community. And I think one of the ways that we do that is we listen to the people. One of the times I'll agree with Councillor Sharp. One of the things that we have to do is the official plan. It's time to redo it. We'll be doing it in the next term of council. And the most important part of that is consultation. And I think as a council, the most important thing we do at any point is consultation. So my vision will be our vision. Thank you.
Thank you. So now we're at the end of the questions. I want to thank all of you for the questions that you submitted. They were all fantastic. I don't think we had many left, quite frankly. There are a lot of them were the same or similar. So we're going to pass the mic down to Dave. We're going to go in reverse order this time. And each of you have 2 minutes. And the guy over there with the red flag will take care of that. So.
I'll give you that 15. I'll do that.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dave. And
Perfect.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Deb, Rob. First of all, I want to apologize for fumbling with my phone. I'm not used to it, to this setup, and it's not easy to speak for 100 plus people here. And so I'm happy to be here and show all you my notes. I've got 15 pages of notes, and they're all half divided, and I'm really prepared for this, but it is harder than it is to get up here. So thanks very much. Also, thank you to the organizers, and all of you for being involved in our municipal politics. It's been my great pleasure to serve the community where I grew up as your counselor, and despite several years of COVID and some very frustrating divisions in our council, I'm proud of the work we've accomplished together. We've completed many of our strategic priorities, and we've stayed on or under budget, and a lot of municipalities did not. I want to continue to be your voice on council, who can bring your concerns to the table. Remember, there are still 7 more days of online voting until 8 p.m. October 24th. You can vote in person at Town Hall on Wednesday, October 19th, this Wednesday, from 10 to 8 p.m., or you can vote on election day. There are 2 votes at Grimsby sectors, 10 to 8 p.m. Thanks very much for coming, and I will be here to answer any questions now.
Thank you, Dave. Yeah, we can clap back. Thank you very much. Dylan?
All right, so yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, thank everybody for showing up once again this evening, and again to the organizers for allowing us to do this. I think it's great to see this many people out that are interested in local politics and making sure that we're making the best decision as a community to push our community forward and to really allow us to accomplish what we want to accomplish in the community. For myself, I just really want to lay out there that, you know, as I mentioned in my sort of intro, I've had experience of living in a lot of different communities, and I've enjoyed Grimsby more than any of them by far. It is really, without a doubt, the best of both the big city living while maintaining that little small town feel that everybody is always searching for. I think if you elect me to council, I would like to keep that small town feel in place while also balancing that with the growth that we've seen today. And you know, I think with the responsible growth sort of moving forward, we can really make Grimsby a place that people want to live and continue living, and really set us as one of the best communities within Ontario and Canada as a whole. I really appreciate the time for having me and allowing me to speak. I'm quite new to politics. I do think that I've got the experience from my career in sales to really communicate with you all and really represent you and learn and understand your problems, because your problems are my problems as well. So appreciate the time and ask for your vote to be your representative for Ward 2.
Thank you. Carol?
It's easy being an armchair politician to categorically state, this is what I would do in that position. It's just not that easy. This is a job being applied for. Like any other job, you bring your set of skills to the interactive set of rules and procedures, and most of all, the people you work with. Unlike other jobs, the decisions you make affect others greatly. Your skills are to help develop those rules and procedures to a level that is simplistic in its understanding, satisfactory, and beneficial to all. I bring a very unique set of skills. I think outside the box. I ask the hard questions. I seek out the answers. Through different ways, like the town council, the staff, who, by the way, they know a lot of the answers and they know where to get them from. I also research, because I want the answers too. I listen to people and will try and give them their answers in a beneficial time frame. No one should have to wait a year and a half for a response that says nothing can be done. That's just rude. I'm not the type of person who would spout about the votes I made pro or con, because that is part of the job. To vote on something making sure it is beneficial or to save the town people involved. That's the job. All governments use levels of Band-Aid solutions. That being, they don't look beyond the immediate future plans for the extended future growth. If our town had, we would have had room for bike lanes, shopping facilities in the east and west end of town, and an indoor pool already. So let's look to the future of our town now. I don't have all the answers. I may not even have some of them. But I will learn what we can and can't do. I will learn and practice the codes of ethics and conduct as a counselor and work with the council to ensure that our town, which is also my town, benefits from our decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. John?
I want to thank you, the audience, for coming out this evening and showing that you care about our town of Grimsby and its governance over the next 4 years. While your choice may not be the same as the person beside you, the important thing is that choosing a candidate who you feel ticks off the boxes on your list. And while each person's list may be a little different, the end result is your choice, and you accept the results of that choice, or not making that choice. The next council has a large job, not insurmountable, but a large just the same, and your choice needs to be up to that challenge. So consider your choices as someone applying for that job with your company, which is your town council. Should I be your choice? Please don't stop reaching out to me. Educate me by sharing solutions. Inform me of your concerns. And at the end of the day, we can make a good team that will make Grimsby better tomorrow than it is today. Close, I'd like to say thank you very much to the group that organized this and the other previous board meetings. And it's nice to see some people that have got whiter hair than me.
Thank you, John.
The last 4 years have been both challenging and rewarding. As many of you know, I have remained steadfast in my representation of residents, and I know I have made a positive contribution to our town. I have sat on the planning committee, the operations committee, and the finance committee. I have been on the boards of Grimsby Energy, Grimsby Power, and the Art College. I have been a fierce advocate for responsible growth, safety on our roads, and the protection of our environment. I have demonstrated my values, voting against councillor pay raises, and twice voting not to remove Councillor Bothwell from the chair of the Heritage Committee. However, both votes carried because of the actions of the GBF. I I have a strong background in financial management, consultation, and working with community groups, having held several executive positions within the federal government. The town of Grimsby is a corporation. Councilors are the board of directors, and you are the shareholders. You are the ones who decide who's qualified and who shares your values to watch over your investments, your home. I hope I have shown you through my actions that I am capable and committed to the residents of Grimsby, and that I will stand up for this community, and that I will be your voice at council. I hope you will continue to place your trust in me and give me your vote once again. And thank you everyone for coming out. Thank you to the organizers.
Very much. I want to thank you again to all of you for attending tonight. This is a wonderful turnout for a very important vote on October 24th, if you haven't voted already. Thank you to the team over here for putting this on, all of them on. It's great to have these debates. We need it. Thank you to all of you for putting your name forward. Grimsby deserves the best they can have, or she can have. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being here.
Two closing remarks before we'll leave. And before I make those closing remarks, I would ask Tony to come forth. Thanks, Phil. I just want to use this opportunity. For the last four years ago, on Municipal Election Day, October 22nd, Grimsby was served with a bomb. Hamilton Health Science wanted to change their hospital. So there's a number of people in the community that stood up. Some have been doing it for the last 4 years. And on April 30th, we had the sod turning at the hospital. And I had the job, my wife and I created, we got these hard hats, and what we did was we put the date of the sod turning, we put the Hamilton Health Science, save the bill sticker, and then take it to the finish. And on November 15th, we're going to get an update on how we're doing with the fundraising. But one person here that I missed that day, she was away and couldn't make it, was Debbie Zimmerman. For those that don't know, Debbie was a co-chair of the original fundraising campaign that raised $12 million many years ago. And I'm also very, very honored to have worked with her many times, and I can tell you that she was the brunt of many of my emails over the past 4 years, but she was always there supporting us, and I'm very proud, for those that don't know, Debbie is now on the Hamilton Health Science Board representing this part of the country. So, without further ado, I'd like to thank Debbie for this hard hat. She deserves every bit of it, and we can adjust it. So Jeff's going to take our pictures. It'll look good in your office. Thank you. Yeah, I got And on a personal note, around the world, democracy is challenged. We all know that. And for democracy to survive and flourish, it starts local. This is where we protect our democracy. Thank you for showing interest. Thank you for coming out. See you in 26.